In today's story, we explore a powerful journey of justice, discrimination, and the incredible impact one person can make when they stand up against an unjust system. It all begins at Lincoln National Bank, where a seemingly ordinary man named Elijah Roberts walks in to apply for a loan, only to face cold indifference and an unjust denial from the branch manager, Amanda Prescott. But this isn't just a tale about a loan. It's about confronting deep-rooted prejudice that often goes unnoticed. Elijah's decision to take action, withdrawing millions from the bank, triggers a chain of events that ultimately leads to the bank's collapse. His actions were not driven by revenge, but by a commitment to fairness and truth. This story highlights how challenging unfair systems and standing up for what's right can not only expose corruption, but spark meaningful change. It's a reminder that even one determined voice can shift the course of events and inspire others to do the same. At the heart of downtown Chicago, nestled in the bustling financial district, stood Lincoln National Bank, a prestigious institution known for its gleaming tower of glass and steel, symbolizing wealth and power. Inside, the atmosphere was sleek and professional, with employees working meticulously to uphold the bank's image of success. Amanda Prescott, the branch manager, sat in her leather chair in her private office, her eyes fixed on a pile of loan applications. She was known for her efficiency, but also her cold demeanor, rarely letting personal connections sway her decisions. On this particular morning, the doors of the bank's lobby swung open, and a tall, composed man walked in. His name was Elijah Roberts, dressed simply in a light blue shirt, holding a small folder under his arm. He looked like any other person running errands, but little did Amanda know, he was about to turn her world upside down. Elijah approached the reception desk, greeted the teller, and asked to speak with the manager about a loan. The young teller, Jenny, hesitated for a moment before politely asking if he had an appointment. Elijah's response was simple. "No, ma'am. I was hoping she might spare me a few minutes." After a brief conversation, Jenny gestured for him to head to Amanda's office. Elijah walked in with the same calm demeanor, but Amanda barely looked up from her screen as she gestured for him to sit. "Please have a seat," she said curtly, her fingers still tapping away on her keyboard. Elijah, unfazed, placed the folder on her desk and introduced himself. "Thank you for seeing me. My name is Elijah Roberts, and I'd like to apply for a small business loan. I've prepared all the necessary documents." Amanda barely glanced at him, flipping through the folder with disinterest. "Mr. Roberts," she said, her voice growing colder, "this bank has strict guidelines for approving loans. Based on what I'm seeing here, I'm afraid you don't meet our criteria." Elijah leaned forward slightly, his tone calm but firm. "I've been banking with Lincoln National for over a decade. My credit is impeccable, and my business plan is solid. May I ask what specific criteria I'm not meeting?" Amanda's expression remained unreadable. "It's not personal, Mr. Roberts," she replied. "The decision is final." Elijah sat back in his chair, absorbing the rejection. Despite Amanda's cold dismissal, he stood up, extended his hand, and said, "Thank you for your time, Miss Prescott." Their handshake was brief, and as Amanda watched him leave her office, she felt no sense of regret. Little did she know, this was just the beginning of a much larger story. After his rejection, Elijah walked back to the teller window with a calm resolve, surprising Jenny with a request to withdraw all the funds from his accounts. Jenny, taken aback, asked if he meant every account, and Elijah confirmed with a firm, "Yes, ma'am, every last cent." As Jenny processed the request, her fingers flew over the keyboard, and she quickly realized the gravity of the situation. Elijah wasn't just an ordinary customer, he was one of the bank's largest depositors, with millions in his accounts. Her eyes widened in disbelief, and she rushed to Amanda's office, her voice trembling as she informed her manager about Elijah's vast holdings. Amanda's face turned pale as the reality set in. The man she had dismissed so casually was responsible for a significant portion of the bank's financial stability. Panicked, she quickly exited her office, plastering a strained smile on her face as she approached Elijah in the lobby. "Mr. Roberts, may I have a word?" she asked, attempting to salvage the situation. But Elijah, maintaining his calm demeanor, simply turned to her and said, "I believe we've already spoken, Miss Prescott," his tone unwavering. Amanda, realizing her efforts were futile, tried to smooth things over, suggesting they revisit his loan application, but Elijah stood firm. "No need," he replied coolly, having already made his decision. He completed the withdrawal and left the bank, unaware of the storm his actions would soon unleash. As Elijah walked out of the bank, the effects of his actions began to ripple through Lincoln National at a staggering speed. Within hours, the bank's once calm and organized operation turned into chaos. The accounts department scrambled to process the unexpected withdrawal of millions, and the ripple effect spread throughout the financial system. Pending transactions began to bounce, and the bank's liquidity was stretched to the breaking point. The sudden depletion of funds left the bank unable to meet its financial obligations, triggering a series of internal alarms. Word quickly spread among employees, with whispers of a major depositor pulling out, but no one could have predicted the full scale of the collapse. By midday, financial analysts began to take notice, and reports of the bank's liquidity crisis began circulating. The consequences were swift and severe. That evening, the bank's board of directors convened in an emergency meeting, but it was already too late. By the following morning, Lincoln National Bank filed for bankruptcy, a fall from grace that stunned the financial world. The once proud institution, revered for its stability, now became a cautionary tale of how arrogance and discrimination could bring down even the largest players in the market. As the news broke, public outrage followed. The media relentlessly targeted Amanda Prescott, with reports painting her as the face of the bank's downfall. Her cold, dismissive attitude toward Elijah's loan request and her failure to recognize the magnitude of his influence were quickly seen as symptomatic of a larger, systemic problem within the institution. Clients whose savings had been wiped out were furious, demanding answers, and lawsuits piled up. Amanda's reputation, once that of a successful branch manager, crumbled under the weight of the scandal. Public opinion turned against her, and even her colleagues distanced themselves. Meanwhile, the bank's reputation suffered irreparable damage, and the public backlash extended far beyond Amanda herself, with the entire institution facing a complete loss of trust. For Amanda, the consequences were dire. Her career was effectively over. But the story of Elijah Roberts, the man who had set everything in motion, continued to grow, casting a long shadow over Lincoln National's final days. Elijah's decision to take such drastic action was not born from a desire for vengeance, but from a deep commitment to principle and justice. During his years as a client of Lincoln National Bank, he had become aware of troubling whispers about racial discrimination within the institution. As a successful entrepreneur, Elijah had built his business from the ground up, and he knew firsthand how unfair systems could limit opportunities based on race. When he dug deeper into the bank's practices, he discovered that it wasn't just a few isolated incidents. It was a systemic issue, one that favored certain individuals while sidelining others without just cause. His loan rejection was merely the tipping point. Elijah's actions were a bold stand against that injustice, using his influence not for personal gain, but to expose a harmful practice that had gone unchecked for too long. Rather than seek revenge, he redirected his energy toward positive change. He invested his funds in community banks that prioritized inclusivity and fairness, ensuring that businesses and individuals from all backgrounds had access to the financial support they deserved. Additionally, Elijah established a scholarship program to empower young entrepreneurs, giving them the tools and opportunities to succeed in ways he had been denied. His actions weren't just about a single bank's collapse. They were about reshaping the future, creating a more equitable system for those who followed. Elijah's bold stand didn't just end with the collapse of Lincoln National Bank. It sparked a much larger movement. As word of his actions spread, advocacy groups, community leaders, and even other financial institutions began to take notice. Elijah's story became a symbol of standing up against corporate arrogance and prejudice, inspiring countless others to challenge discriminatory practices in their own industries. Financial institutions across the country were forced to reevaluate their policies, particularly around loan approvals and customer treatment, and many began adopting more inclusive and fair practices to ensure that no one was unfairly excluded based on race or background. Elijah's influence reached beyond just the financial sector. His story inspired social change across various fields, motivating people to push for justice and equality in their workplaces and communities. His actions proved that one individual's determination to fight against injustice could shake the foundations of an entire system, showing the world that principles of fairness and inclusivity must take precedence over arrogance and outdated practices. Elijah's legacy became a rallying cry for those advocating for a more just and equitable society, proving that change, no matter how monumental, can start with a single act of courage. Elijah's actions left an indelible mark on his community and beyond, showing just how much one individual can accomplish when they stand firm in their beliefs. By challenging a flawed system and exposing the racial discrimination that had been silently upheld for years, Elijah not only brought down a powerful institution, but also inspired a movement that reached far beyond the walls of Lincoln National Bank. His commitment to justice, fairness, and inclusivity led to tangible change, from reshaping policies in financial institutions to empowering young entrepreneurs with the opportunity to succeed. Elijah's story is a testament to the power of one voice, steady and determined, to make all the difference. It reminds us that each of us has the ability to stand up for what is right, to challenge the status quo, and to be the change we want to see in the world. As we reflect on Elijah's journey, let's ask ourselves, how can we stand up for justice in our own lives? How can we make a difference, no matter how big or small? The power to change the world lies in our hands. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope Elijah's story has inspired you as much as it's inspired me, showing us all the power of standing up for what's right, no matter the odds. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring content just like this. We've got plenty of powerful stories to share, so be sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on a new video. Your support means the world, and together, we can continue to spread messages of change and justice. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.